Alright you guys, so this is not scripted, so expect a lot of ums and pauses and weird things. It's gonna be a long video. I apologize if you're not into that kind of stuff, but I'm not fixing to do this. This has drained way too much energy already. And apparently I missed a whole hero. I completely missed Leo Mord. Even though I had the icon ready for him, it seems I actually missed putting him in and stuff. So I get to explain a lot of stuff. If you're in Discord, you'll see that I already explained it, sort of, kind of. But it's easier to explain in person. Plus, I'll address some issues that people, brought up, and I'll address them too. Obviously, before you do anything else, there's going to be a full disclaimer here. Number one, again, I am not a pro. Take this whole tier list with a grain of salt. This is completely biased. This is probably the worst tier list you're ever gonna see, and this is all my personal opinion. So if you disagree with me, that's completely fine. It's not like this is the official tier list for Mobile Legends, okay? So this is just the view I have on heroes, and I have reasons for it. It's not like I just randomly put heroes in random spots. So hopefully that gets us on the right track, and we both have a mutual agreement not to basically roast each other. And if there's legitimate points you want to articulate, you can do so in the comments, but at least try to keep it, logical in a sense and respectful of others. I've had enough experience with that Gudgeon video already. It's just the way it is. But anyways, this whole list is basically, let me open it up real quick, the PNG file. So this whole list is 7,680. Where's my little toolbar when you need it? Give me my toolbar. Okay, never mind. Guess. Where's my? Can you give me my game recording? Sorry about this, guys. Well, anyways. But I wanted the toolbar because, oh, it stopped. Alright guys, I got the I got the toolbar to stick now, because now I can circle things and, or highlight things and all that. So, very necessary for me to make a video like this. So, as I was saying, the whole tier list is not a new concept to me. I mean, I've been wanting to do it, but it just takes an exorbitant amount of time. The thing I have to start from, if you look here, are all the icons, and all these icons have like layers or stacks on them. And if we go at like one of the busiest ones, let's go into one of the, let me see a really good one here, Esmeralda. So here's a great example. There's like layers and 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 layers. So what do all these things mean? So I'll give her layers back. Come on, Esme. Alright, so that's everything on her. And if we have to point some things out, then let's start with the basic things. Here's my tools over here. Sorry if I think blue is fine. So, first of all, when you see one of my icons, the first thing you're going to notice overall is this like ring around the hero. And the ring can be solid yellow, or it can be brown, etc, etc. Here are all the variations I have. Let me open them up real quick for you guys. Random Harley one. Open. Okay, so this means that the hero in general is not situational. So this hero does not need a certain, you don't have to have a certain condition in order to pick this hero. You can always pick this hero, and they usually will fit into most teams. Okay, so heroes like this would be Esmeralda. Now if you're asking why she has like two different ones, that's because if you change her role, stuff is going to change. And I'll go through that. I'm going to go through the whole list with you guys. So the next thing up is, of course, dashed circles, or whatever you call these guys. If you see yellow, it means that the hero in choice has the ability to drop one rank in the list if their conditions are not met. So let's grab an example real quick, a golden example. Here's Argus, and he has that golden or yellow dashed line around him. That means that although he is in the SS tier, it does mean that he can and will drop to S plus if his conditions are not met properly. We'll get to what conditions are for each hero and everything later. If they have a silver one, let's pretend Argus had a silver one, he could drop to S rank. If he had a bronze or a brown one, he could drop all the way down to A plus. Okay? And so you're saying, if you're looking at the list already and you're kind of thinking ahead, you're like, okay, what about these brown guys that can drop 3 ranks and they're already at S? So they'd be A plus, A, and then they go off the list? That is true. They go off the list. If you choose one of these guys in the completely, wrong scenario, you will be murdered. There is absolutely no chance for these heroes to survive if you don't pick them correctly. So that's why they're in S rank, but they have that bronze, badge. Some other guys can do this as well, like Sun, for example. 1, 2, well, actually, he'll end up in A. Sorry about that. But you get the idea. We'll get more into this later. This right here is kind of a double meaning. In some cases, for example, let's go to Alucard. He has that little green clock. And what does that mean? Well, what it means is not that he may be the strongest early game, but that he really does need to do most of his actions early game. Most of his strength needs to come from early game so he can be good mid game. Alucard is a mid game hero, but he needs to do most of his work in the early game in order to benefit from it at all. A different example of that would be Kimmy. She also has that green little clock, but in contrast, she's actually really good early game, really, really strong early game. 2 samples side by side, actually. Here's Kimmy and Claude. Both have that green clock. However, for different reasons. Kimmy because she's strong early game. Claude because he needs to farm early game. And so there you have it. So they can have a double meaning. And that goes up to mid game as well, Mid game needs to be your strong point or late game, etc., etc. I will specify this, but I just felt like I need to go through all the basics first so that people can understand. Now, if you see a hero with a 2 swords crossing them, that means there's a counter. It doesn't encompass all of them, and if we go to what said earlier in the morning from let me see. Come on, it's actually earlier in the morning. Even earlier than that. Natalia. Let's see, hero difficulty. Oh, here we go. Great example. Helcurt and Gwyn. So, let's find Helcurt. Where you at? There you are. So, Helcurt, I have a little mage icon, and there's like a cross. So it means that Helcurt counters most mages. And that's true. And Gwyn, technically, she's a mage as well, fighter / mage. But it doesn't mean that, he doesn't counter Gwyn. I just can't possibly think of all the combinations, So that's where you see really broad things. Like, we all know Hayabusa can kill a lot of assassins and a lot of marksmen, but I put the mage symbol. So it's kind of like, he really does excel in killing mages with his ultimate and his skills, flashing in and out. But it's not like it's restricted, okay? There's still some leeway. Of course, Gudgeon is a tank killer, but he's also kind of like the guy that can, delete squishies in one combo as well. So it's not all-inclusive, but it's a good indication of where the hero has a lot of strengths at. Like, not just besides the point, okay, Gudgeon is strong, he can kill squishies. No, Gudgeon can actually kill some tanks really quickly. That kind of info is what I'm trying to give to you guys. Alright? So, next up. Oh, sorry about this group thing. Mythic, Legend, and Warrior icons. I would have added more, but I didn't want to make it super complicated. So if you see a little Warrior icon on some heroes, for example, Esmeralda, it doesn't mean that she sucks, it just means that she's really easy to use, not requiring a lot of thinking or prediction of enemy hero movements and stuff like that. It's kind of like a spam to win kind of thing. Herath, on the other hand, is legend, because although it is kind of like spam, 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 you kind of do have to keep in mind that you have to keep a certain distance from an enemy to trigger your passive and other stuff like that. So it's kind of a little bit more complicated than what it may seem, but it's to signify hero difficulty, in my opinion. Alright? And so yeah, there's that. Some of these heroes, and actually only one of these heroes, has a double mark. That's Fanny. She has a double mythic mark. She is completely difficult. She's probably the most difficult hero to use, and at least for me. And that's coming from a Kagura main who is, you know, people say Kagura's really hard to use, and I'm like, no, Fanny's hard to use. But yeah, Retribution icon on heroes, again going back to heroes like Harry or Kimmy or Granger or Claude or, you know, Changi or Changa or Changa, there you go, or Esmeralda. Again, this kind of serves a dual purpose. It can mean that they're strong in the jungle. It really can mean that they're really strong at jungling, but it can also mean that they really do need to jungle or kill the jungle in order to be really good in the game, or the duration of the game. A great example of this would be, let's see, Xborg. Xborg is super strong, literally cancer, but he needs to be jungling, and after he clears his lanes, of course, he needs to be jungling a lot. He's one of the few heroes that can do that, along with probably Leo Mord and all the other strong junglers like Harley and other mages like Gudgeon, Selena. You get the point. They can destroy the jungle so quickly that they should, or they don't. In case of like Moskov, well, he doesn't even have the jungle icon, but in cases of like Granger and Carry, early game they really can't kill the jungle super fast, but they really do need it in order to keep up with the game and then become the cancer that they are. So then this icon, it's probably the worst of the icons, but it's kind of hard to think of something else to put here. It's just a tower being destroyed with a little, you know, X mark over it. So if you see this, it means that that hero is really good at pushing towers. And some heroes have it, like Zask, for example, and it's like super blurry, but I guess since you know what it is now, you can see what it is in general. There's going to be some heroes that obviously have a really, like, yeah, here you can't tell either, but some hero at some point is going to have a larger icon of it that I hope you guys can go from. But it just means that you're good at killing towers, split pushing, or pushing in general. Most marksmen should have this, actually, so that's, I guess, a good point. Yeah, there's Roger. Yeah, better picture on Roger right there. Alright, so what's next? Well, let's go from left to right, and they'll go from top to bottom, like we read in the United States. So, SS, and we'll go by section as well. We'll go tank, and then fighter, and we'll go down. So, tank, SS, S plus, S, A plus A, fighter, assassin, mage, marksman, support. That's how we're going to do it, alright? So, SS tanks. So we have, starting with Esmeralda, she is a situational SS tank. And she has the brown... Okay. And she has the brown color, which means that Esmeralda can effectively drop all the way down to... Let me zoom out. Well, you see her lips, right? She can drop down 1 rank, 2 ranks, 3 ranks. So, if you choose Esmeralda as a tank and you choose her for the wrong reasons, then you run the risk of actually having selected someone that's not that good, you know, way down there. So, what that means is that Balmond would have been a better choice at that point. And what is it? Well, it's against high crowd control enemies and stuff, even if you're running her as a tank. And remember, we're in the tank section. Tank Esmeralda. We're not talking over here about the cancer Mage Esmeralda. That's different. So keep that in mind. Even as a tank, she does counter heroes with high shields, such as Diggy, Herath, and Uranus. Thank Moonton for actually making something that can counter Diggy in some way or another. She's still really strong at jungling, even as a tank, or helping to jungle. And, of course, she's early game, because anybody with a shield is going to get wrecked. as soon as, and most people build Athena's shield early game, so she's gonna feed off of that. As a tank, she's gonna be really good at, countering heroes or lineups that are super tanky with shields. But if you end up fighting heroes that have a lot of burst and crowd control, it's not really her style. She's not really gonna shine as a tank there. Next up we have Franco, who is basically, you either pwn with him or you kind of get pwned with him. Again, he can also drop to Balman level, and that doesn't mean Balman sucks. He has his quirks, but Balman would be better if you choose Franco in the wrong type of scenario. So if the enemy team has a team that's willing to dive all the time, Franco's a bad choice. If the enemy team has a bunch of heroes that are kind of like stay away from everybody, mages that are really like long range and stuff, then Franco's really good because he can hook all these heroes out of their comfort zone. Then of course we have the next up lizard guy, Grok. He's literally cancer as well. Oh, sorry about that. I completely missed the legend thing on Franco. Franco, dang it, man. I keep on. Sorry, it's not scripted. So, yeah, Franco can counter most mages because of his ultimate, can't be purified and all that, and most assassins for the same reason. But difficulty-wise, if you know how to hook with Franco, that in itself is what's difficult for him. Knowing how to hook, being able to hook reliably for your team is what makes him, a little bit difficult to use. Not just something you can pick up and be like, yes, I am a pro Franco. So, and he does shine mid-game. Mid-game is where Franco shines the most because he's a little bit tanky enough to, take a lot of that damage. Late game Franco, he can still get bursted and stuff, but so, mid-game is where he really shines. Then we have Grok, and I should have put every color of the clock on there. This dude is a monster. He has, anti-crowd control, he has a lot of armor, he has a lot of burst damage, and he can build walls, and you guys already know him. There's a reason he's SS and he has that solid yellow border. If you're going to pick anybody in this SS class and you want to make sure that you pick somebody that's going to be good no matter what the team, then you have Grok. Literally #1 spot. But he does come with a learning curve, okay? So you can't just be a pro Grok out of nowhere. Grok does have a small learning curve, well, a decent learning curve, making him really, really rewarding the more you learn how to master him. So, almost the same as Kufra. Now, Kufra also can drop very low, but very different reasons. Only if you take him against teams without a lot of dashes or a lot of blink type heroes, which is basically the meta. And that means that right now in the meta, Kufra is SS. When people begin to use heroes that have a lot less dashes and stuff, that can kind of just, dance around Kufra, and like, oh, I don't need a dash anyways because that's not in my kit, I just, delete you, then Kufra is going to suffer horribly. But in the meantime, as long as the meta sticks with the dashes and all that crap, Kufra is going to be just as cancerous as Grok. And okay, next up is Acai. I recommend taking breaks, by the way, as I am. If you want to come back to the video eventually, it's perfectly fine. Come back, pick it back up. You know what order we're going in, so you know eventually where we're at. So next up is Acai. Acai is a solid pick. He can counter a lot of those mobile heroes, particularly if he can pin them. And he can also save a lot of your allies from heroes like Minster Thor's ult, or some heroes that really rely on sustain. So sustain type heroes, the MS, Alucard, have a really hard time fighting against Acai. Acai doesn't get strung until about mid game, so there's his, little yellow tag. And of course, he does require skills to play, because you can't just be throwing skills randomly and then using your ult randomly as well. It has a function and there's a way to play him, and it's not easy. Okay. Next up is Bela Rick. Bela Rick is, of course, not as difficult as Acai, simply due to, the way his, skills work. You do have to aim some of them, and you also have to focus a lot on, timing. But overall, he's not anywhere near as hard as, Acai in the same section. So that's why he is S+. And of course, Kimmy and Claude are definitely top picks nowadays, so that's why he is an S+. And he can really counter them really hard. The ultimate and his revamped ultimate can really make a really huge impact on team fights at any point in the game, honestly. And if you're wondering how much he can drop by, let's zoom out a little bit again, and we'll do the normal. So S+, and the fact that he is, you know, silver, that's 1 and 2, so he can drop all the way to A+. If you take him against heroes like, you know, Carrie and Roger, tank destroyers, and people that really kind of abuse his passive in the wrong way. Usually when you say abuse a passive, you mean it like in a, you know, advantageous way to yourself. But if you abuse his passive, you can really get around him. And the people that abuse his passive are heroes like Aldous and like Leslie as well. Any kind of burst damage, Bela Rick doesn't, you know, constantly whip out his passive where he has that retaliation, and that's what's gonna, you know, hurt him the most. Most tanks are mid game, in general, by the way. So next up is Gatod, who's good from skill 2 plus Vengeance alone. So at very early game, he can pretty much bring down a lot of enemies, especially when in coordinated fights. He is, of course, a disruptor, and his, you know, skill set and his, you know, tankiness, everything about Gatod in general is really good for a tank. The only thing he really lacks, besides, you know, he has a knockup in his ult, but he really lacks like a spammable knockup to make him, you know, SS tier, and that's why he's there. But of course, he counters, once again, all these same things that Bela Rick counters, really, then Gatod will counter. And the same things that, you know, hurt Bela Rick will hurt Gatod, in a sense. So, especially heroes that make him slow. So, just keep an eye out for that. He is really good, a really good tank, and a really good choice if you're, you know, into tanks and stuff. But he's not going to drop off much either. So, he'll drop to about, you know, S tier. So, dropping to S tier is not bad. So, great choice. Minotaur, I was contemplating putting this guy in SS because he has that, you know, triple knockup ultimate, and, you know, that's anti-group, you know, mobs and all that crap. The Minotaur, or the cow, however you guys know him by, requires just the same as Bela Rick, you know, timing. It's all about timing for him, and he's good all the way through. You can put him almost in any team comp and he's going to be really good. That disrupt is really critical in team fights. But it can be cancelled. It's just a matter of, can you cancel it? Do you take the hero to counter him? Heroes like, you know, Valir with his ultimate, and there's a lot more, but there's just not a lot of people are gonna take Valir, of course. So there's something to take there. That's why he's S+. There's all these tanks up here can do a specific role like Franco, or, you know, an in general role, just because of the nature of shields and, you know, dashes in the game, Kufra or Esmeralda, or just, you know, pure cancer, Grok. It's just not on par. Maybe some Mino mains will disagree with me, but I think you know what I mean when I say that if people cancel your ultimate and they have heroes that know how to do that and they do it effectively, you're going to have, you know, a really, you know, hard time in team fights with Minotaur. Now, who's next? Let's see. Oh, of course. So, Hylos. Now, remember, all these guys that are in S tier with the brown dashed line around them will fall off the list if you pick them. So, be very careful when you pick these guys. If you pick, for example, Hylos or Uranus, same situation. They're both bruisers, okay? They're probably the only two bruisers in the game. And they both counter fighters. That's what they do. But if you accidentally, you know, pick them and then the enemy has tank shredders, then you're going to be in for a really, really, really rough time with these guys. It's going to be like you don't even have a tank. You've reduced yourself to below, you know, beyond easy to kill. Same thing with Lolita. If you don't take her against, you know, specifically projectile type enemies, she's not going to be really tanky outside of that. Or if there's heroes that can interrupt her skills a lot, since, you know, she has that, like, slow casting ult and everything, if you don't have a coordinated team, then this is not going to work out for you guys. They're going to drop off the list. Same thing for Tigreal. And group and divers, that's what he counters. So he counters a bunch of divers. If you have enemy heroes that always like to dive and form groups and globs, and that's how they try to, you know, gank, then, you know, Tigreal is going to be one of the best choices. A lot of these, you know, brown dash line tanks are actually really, really good together if you run dual tank lineups. So that's just something, you know, food for thought. Johnson, always a good pick. He does require some driving skills that don't come in easy, as you have to navigate around the jungle to be a really good Johnson. And he does come in, you know, mid-game to be, you know, precisely, you know, at his peak when he builds at least fleeting time or an armor item. The bruisers, of course, are good since early game because that's how they were wired. The bruisers are Hylos and Uranus again. So sorry if I keep on repeating stuff. Now, we get into Balmond and Hilda. So Balmond is a little bit more better of a tank than Hilda, simply due to the fact that although they have similar type of sustain, it's obtained in different ways. You know, Balmond can clear a wave and, you know, get his HP back. Hilda can hide in the brush and get her HP back. But as tanks, whose main role is to be able to absorb damage and, you know, prevent enemies from getting close, they don't do a really good job of that. They can tank damage for sure, but they can't really prevent a really decided enemy hero from, you know, getting to the team. So these guys are more of a situational pick than anything, but they're really solid picks if you're gonna be using them for the purpose that they are. For example, tank Balmond and the enemy has a lot of damage resistance and heroes that are just really tanky in general, then yeah, that's when you're going to take Balmond, you know, because if anybody gets them low, just, you know, that ultimate is critical to stealing even Lord or Turtle. There's so many things you can do with Balmond, but the situation has to be right and the enemy has to pick the right heroes. So, for example, if the enemy takes the double tank lineup and a couple of tanky fighters and then maybe one mage or assassin or ADC, you name it, then Balmond is going to shine there. That's when you pick him because he's going to actually take control of those team fights where, you know, things are going to go downhill. And he makes a really good combo with heroes like Bedang, who can bring heroes in a group down to almost no HP easily. So just food for thought there. If you play him differently, we'll get to Fighter Balmond later. There's something that's not good about him, and it's pretty much the same plague for most fighters, but he especially suffers from it. That's why he's all the way down there. Now, Hilda, as a tank, can absorb tons of damage, and if your team is going to be doing a lot of surprise ganks, as in always, you know, coming in from the jungle and attacking someone, then yeah, she can be really good, but most of the players out there know how to counter her in that sense, and she can tower dive a little bit and all that, but if you're going to be fighting enemy heroes that are just as aggressive as you are, you're going to also have a hard time with Hilda. She needs a buff, honestly. She can, you know, like one-shot a squishy with the right build, you know, as an assassin Hilda and stuff like that, but that's a different kind of playstyle, different from what the, you know, the game says, you know, player as a tank / fighter. Assassin Hilda, I would include her, but last time I included people outside of their rank, you know, they were like, oh, why'd you put this such and such in, you know, in the assassin class? They're clearly a tank, because I had Grok as a fighter, because that's literally what he is. He's just geared that way, but so to avoid all that confusion, I kept her as her roles, and if you keep her loyal to her roles, she's not going to be that good. Assassin Hilda is probably going to compete up here with Lapu and stuff, but that's something I do know. I'm not ignoring that. I'm not ignoring her potential, nor Balmond's. It's just the fact that the game roles are what I'm going by, just to prevent a little bit of confusion. But I do know where you're coming from. If you know what I'm talking about, you've probably met a Hilda that, you know, classifies or is in that level. All right, next guy up is Argus. So this guy is, obviously you can tell I'm a fan of him, but he's literally one of the strongest fighters in the game. He can counter almost everybody, and the way you keep him away is to basically keep him busy while his ult is in use, so keep him crowd controlled during his ultimate and stuff. But that can also work to his advantage. It depends on the player. In terms of damage, he's a very late game hero, so you really do need to get late game in order to, reap maximum damage benefits and stuff. But otherwise, Argus in general can serve as a dual purpose marksman slash tank. If your tank is somebody like Kufra, who's really kind of super weak to, oh, look at that perfect circle. I think I need to stick to the shapes. If you have heroes like Kufra, there we go, then who are particularly weak to heroes like Claude and, Roger, then Argus can come in, or Aurora. Burst heroes or tank shredder heroes, Argus can come in really clutch there because of his ultimate. Tanking the really high damage that takes, a lot of time to reset. Those super burst moments, Argus can be key to a team. And I've explained more about him in my previous videos, so if you're interested in him and how he can work in a real team, then search up the best team in Mobile Legends, or just literally go 2 to 3 videos ago from this one. It's a yellow tag video, and yeah, he's there. So, who's next? Well, yeah, Minster Thor. Oh man, so Minster Thor is the counter to Blinks. When he came out, people didn't hype him that much. I did, because I knew what he impacted. And although nobody really paid attention to him when he came out, I still kind of hyped him. I was like, this dude came out with the season skin for Tigreal, and those two are like cancerous together. And they just prevent all sorts of escapes and stuff. But if you want another combo with him, you can get Bedang and Minster Thor. Literally nobody can escape Bedang and they all die. But Minster Thor, of course, is meta SS tier because most of the, meta is dashes and stuff. Sorry about that. And just like Kufra, in a sense, if there's going to be a lot of blinks and dashes, Minster Thor is the guy. And he does counter Cho, because you have an argument on Cho's side, oh, they're going to save my ultimate for when, not Kufra, for when Minster Thor uses his ult so I can just kick him out and escape. Listen here. No real Minster Thor is going to allow you to do that. And if they do allow you to kick them, then they're going to use their ult right after. They're not going to, give you a really good chance to escape using your ultimate. They're going to attack you when your ultimate is in cooldown. They're really good at doing that. And they're really good at focusing through heroes. So all these dash type heroes like Cho, like Leomord, like Gwyn, like Fanny, Hayabusa, I mean, you name it. Most of these guys have dashes. All get destroyed by Minster Thor. Especially if you build him, burst damage, which he can go. His hybrid defense alone with only immortality is 150 for both. So just get an idea of how good he is in general. He does require a lot of skills though, so if you're going to be playing Minster Thor, you need to practice your hook a lot. Quick note, if in case you didn't know, Minster Thor can hook through brushes, and brushes will make the hook invisible. As in, there's no indicator under there, so enemies cannot see it coming. It's literally impossible. The little chain that appears from his, actual spear is one in a 60 FPS recording lasts 1 frame, so that gets you a good idea of how long you get to detect that. So that's not even enough for a human reaction speed. So that's why he's up there. And of course, combinations with him sync with your whole team. He can provide really strong support. All you have to do is know how to use him properly. He does have counters, but if you pick him against heroes that really don't have dashes and blinks, you're going to be in for a lot of pain, because then you really can't use him to your advantage, and you're going to be hurting. So heroes like, Roger are actually going to hurt him a lot, just as an example. And speaking of Roger, why is he all the way up here in SS? That's because of his duality. If you, again, realize that I have him in under the fighter as SS, but if we go find him, where are you? Marksman, he's all the way down at A+. Why is that? We'll get to Marksman later, but the fighter version of Roger can be SS rank. And of course, he can drop all the way down. Again, just follow that rule of, Brown can drop down 3 tiers. But Roger is going to be a tank shredder for sure. He's going to be a mid-game type person, as in that's where he's the strongest. And he can jungle. It just depends on the way you play him. Of course, his marksman duality allows him to destroy towers and stuff. So there's a bit of a play here. And to play here is if you can use him properly. Can you use him as not only a fighter, but a fighter slash marksman? If you can, then congratulations, that's SS tier, and there's very little situations where he won't fit in. Maybe only against really high instant CC like Aurora or Eudora. So maybe in those cases, that's why he's situational. But if you really want a really strong pick, and the enemy has, heroes that are designed to destroy marksmen like Sabre, Roger is a really good pick because he can out-sustain them. And if you play him properly, you can use his marksman form to poke from a safe distance, then switch to wolf form, and then chase enemies to their death. That's how he should be played. Use marksman form to keep a safe distance, to push towers, to do marksman things, and then when you can't complete the kill as a marksman, you switch to wolf form. Not the other way around. You don't just go roaming around in wolf form, even though it looks cool. So that's just food for thought for Roger. A lot of people don't know his true power. I do, at least in my opinion, so there's that for Roger. Leomord is a solid pick. There's not much, bad about him. He's really tanky. He has a lot of damage. He has crowd control. He's really good against groups of enemies, and he can pull through with his sustain and his critical guaranteed passive. It requires some skills to use, but it's not like you can't, spam his skills and then still not kill enemies. He's not that foolproof. So as long as you know how to use the timing on his skills, you'll be fine with Leomord. He is a really good hero overall. That's why he's in that spot, and he can fit into most team comps, just like, Cho. Now, Cho. So, I think everybody thinks that Cho is the strongest fighter right now, and you have a really good brain. So, if the enemy does not pick Minster Thor, you're fine. You have one of the strongest fighters in the game. Cho. He's on par with Gwyn and Xborg. Xborg we'll get to in a little bit. But Cho is... I don't think I have to tell you more than what you already know. He has too much crowd control, too much damage, and he can just literally fight anyone one-on-one. Can dual, serve as a tank in extreme cases. But Cho in general is going to be a really strong early game hero, but he comes at a really high learning curve. You really have to know how to play him, how to time his immunes, and a lot more stuff. I did a whole big full course on him with Sayano, who is a Cho main, and there's a lot more to him than what you may think, just due to the fact that he has multi-phase skills. And yeah, so master him, you'll have a really good choice, a really good pick for fighters. And only person who can compete with him in terms of that much crowd control, that much damage and stuff, is probably Guinevere. And of course, she's equally hard to use. Well, she's probably like the female mage version of Cho, in my opinion. The only problem with her is that her thump can get cancelled by crowd control. So Martis literally 100% counters her. She can't do anything to Martis. And of course, Hellcurt, she can't really do anything to Hellcurt because she gets silenced and the thump doesn't work. So you see, I literally put, except Martis, but I could have put except Hellcurt as well, but then it could get wordy and all that crap. But yeah, Hellcurt is there. There's some other heroes that you don't want to dive with Gwyn, but you get the idea. It's not all inclusive. I'm not trying to exclude heroes. It's just that maybe there wasn't enough space, and I was trying to keep some type of consistency or aesthetics here. Terizla. Terizla is a slow basic attack, high skill damage hero. He requires a lot of timing and a lot of patience to use. He is also early game, and he really excels in group fights where your heroes have to excel in slowing down enemy heroes. So he makes a really good pair with somebody like Angela, and of course other heroes that you can fit into that category. So yeah, early game, kind of like a fighter version of Grok, and just a little slower. but very rewarding as well. Great passive for him to sustain and survive against a lot of enemies too. He's gonna become one of those Badang types. So like people always like, oh, Badang sucks. Nobody knows how to. Well, nobody can use him. They always feed. Blah blah blah. Or Alucard. Same thing is gonna apply to Terizla. Some people are gonna put him like a C tier stuff because they just don't know how to use him or when to pick him. But yeah, of course he can drop all the way down as well. And we have literally Cancer number 2. That's Xborg. This man is stronger than Grok early game and is going to probably plus Grok. So like if the enemy picks Grok, Kaja, Xborg, you can, say goodbye to your jungle, say goodbye to anybody really early game. The damage output is completely insane for any hero, and the tankiness that he has is also insane. Of course, if you lose it, the only thing I don't like about him is that if you lose it, even when you recover health, it doesn't go past a certain point. So there's that, but the skill damage is just way too high for him to be classified as anything else than SS. And the way he does things, the true damage he evokes, they made him in a way that's designed to kill so many things. It's not even funny. Kind of like the fighter version of Gudgeon in a sense. Version of Gudgeon plus the old original Kimmy. That's what Xborg is. Pretty Cancer. Now, Kaja, of course, everybody knows about Kaja. They always pick Kaja because Kaja counters a lot of divers. Or he can just pick out enemies from, I'll take this guy and kill him. Very early game hero, very strong early game, and of course he can jungle, as in steel jungle, invasion strat. This is in this case that icon is for invasions and stuff. He can really help your team to invade the enemy team and come out really strong in early game. So Kaja, solid SS pick for sure. You really want to pick him if he's open, just like you want to pick Cho or Gwyn or Leomord, or even Xborg when he becomes available. Now, next up is Aldous. Now, Aldous, back when he was released, I was always, okay, this guy is really good. And then S10 came around, and I was like, guys, you really do need to play Aldous. He's really, really strong. And then eventually, not because of me, probably, because I only had like 300 or 400 subscribers back then, people began to use him more often and more often and more often. And, we got some good Aldous players now. So, he counters marksman, for real, because they cannot hurt him. They literally cannot hurt him. And he has really good sustain because why not give him an insanely large shield? Why not give him 50% damage reduction on a shield, which is Cancer in of itself, and then, let him double punch with no repercussions because he's really tanky, and then also give him a stun while we're at it, as well as a global ult that can let him target whoever he wants. So yeah, you can see why he's, S+. But the reason why he's dashed is because even though he's a really strong pick, he doesn't outshine any of these guys up here. And a lot of people, now that he's, more popular, know how to counter him now. So they'll, hug their tower or go to their nearest source of crowd control. And they'll make it hard for Aldous to farm in some cases. Like, they'll make sure you can't get last hits. Essentially keeping you nerfed most of the game. People know how to work around Aldous nowadays, so just take it with a grain of salt. If you can have a good team that can back you up, let you get fed, of course he's going to be S+. It's really hard to stop him in that case. Badang is a different situation. He's meant to be played as an off-tank. No, I'm just kidding. He's meant to be played as a fighter. And a fighter down to the bone, okay? He's going to be the type of guy who goes in a team fight, and once he goes in, you guys better go in because he has no other choice but to use his ultimate and kill everybody. Now, the way you use his ultimate, or people use his ultimate, is usually wrong because they aim it at whatever they hit on the wall. It's kind of like, guys, that circle, there's a circle around him that no matter where you aim at, if you trap somebody between your wall, they're going to take damage from you anyways. So the way you properly use his ultimate is you have to aim at where you think enemies will be coming from. Not where the guy you trapped is going to escape to, and not at the guy that you trapped, but where you think the enemies are going to try to back him up from, because then they have to take a detour around your fists, and that can let your team get some kills. So just as an FYI, he does counter groups. He's not really a good finisher, so have someone that can finish like Bauman or Martis is a really good choice. Karina as well. finishers are much appreciated when Bedang does a lot of the work. Now, of course, that means he does have a lot of skill cap because you have to be patient. You can't be spamming skills for no reason. And in general, he's more of like critical timing. If you mess up his timing, you pretty much suck as Bedang. And as soon as he gets DHS, he's really good. So that's a mid-game type of thing. And so yeah, there's Bedang. If you choose him against, enemies that have super, tons of dashes and stuff, he's gonna drop a lot of tiers because they just, dash through your wall and stuff. So be careful when you pick him. Make sure you pick him properly, or that you have someone who can back you up and prevent enemies from running away, like Minster Thor. Let's see. Now, Alucard. So, you guys are probably really bored because I'm just literally sitting here looking at my computer screen and just talking about these heroes. How far are we in? 43 minutes on this recording alone. Okay, so Alucard is, of course, S+ as well. Silver badge. He doesn't drop as hard as Bedang if you don't pick him for the right enemies, but he can counter a lot of the dash type heroes, the ones with blinks, because of his passive. He can just, instantly teleport to where they would have gone. They can't escape him really, and he has enough sustain to actually 1v1 them and win. Of course, that comes with a skill cap, and if you don't know how Alucard works, it's going to be hard to play him. I did a whole analysis of his skills. He's actually nothing like what the game description says. He has hidden passives, and he's meant to eat up the jungle, although not taking all the buffs for him. He really does not need the buffs, but I guess Alucard players will be Alucard players. So yeah, if you can play him and you know how to use him and you take Purify, you can really carry your team out in a lot of team fights if you come in at the right time and stuff. Or, solo lane versus any of these guys and you'll be fine. Ruby, she can control groups in a different way that Bedang does. Bedang does it by damage, Ruby does it by crowd control and sustain. And if you fought against Ruby, you know how cancerous that can be and how strong that can be. So she deserves a spot up here. The only time you really wouldn't want to pick Ruby is when the enemy has, again, crowd control type heroes that do not need to get close to you to kill you. So be careful when you pick her. Burst heroes and burst crowd control will kill you. You need her. You need to take her when she's the right one to be taken. As far as when she's good, she needs at least one item or two. I'd say two. That's why I put a little yellow tag mid game. And you can't just randomly use her skills. A really good Ruby with flicker hooks will sometimes make or break a team fight. And that's why she has that little legend difficulty. Same as Martis. Martis is easier a little bit to use, but due to different reasons. And his passive of, gain attack speed helps him, maintain the pace early game versus heroes. He can jungle, basically is what I'm saying. He can jungle early game. But he doesn't become strong until also probably one or two items. So that's why you really want to make sure he can, stay up to date with most of the enemy heroes. If the enemy heroes have, zoners in a sense that they prevent you from getting close due to CC. So Kaja, he's always going to be diving for your teammate. You can, peel him off. Or Gord, if you want to get through his ball and then kill him, you can do that to Gord. He counters Gord really well. Heroes like that. And of course, Guinevere, she can't use her thump on him at basically all times because his skill 2 is so long that Mortal Coil is pretty much deadly to her. As a matter of fact, if you know someone who picks Gwyn, like first pick in ranked games, you can save Martis for last. Get your priority picks in place and then get Martis last, and their Gwyn is useless. Let's see. Bane. Oh, okay. So, again, I'm not a fan of this guy's design. I really like the old Bane better. That's just my opinion. Squid Lord over here is different. He doesn't require a lot of skills to play. I mean, anybody can, learn how to aim his skills. That's not really something you need skills to do. Aiming is pretty much basic for him. It's not like advanced aiming like Farce. It's kind of like just, splash damage for him. And that splash damage can reveal Natalia. If there's a little icon above your head, you can use your spit in areas where Natalia would normally go. And if you have minions nearby, your splash will reveal her and stuff like that. So very good early game hero. He is a priority only choice. So his situation is you're gonna have to take him to kill towers. Your whole team has to be focused on tower killing. So if a team has like Kimmy, Bane, and other heroes that excel in pushing towers early game, then great. That's a great pick for that team. Otherwise, he's gonna drop off the tier list as well. That's just how bad he gets countered. Jawhead is also one that can drop. Sorry, also one that can drop off significantly, but Jawhead is for different reasons. Mostly because if you get close to any of these heroes with really good peelers, you're pretty much just dead. But if you catch them one-on-one alone, you can kill them for sure. Jawhead needs a little bit of a boost, a little bit of a buff, where he somehow gains a bigger shield or something that can let him dive in more safely with his ult. Maybe only during his ultimate or something. But if you want him to counter something, or you want to pick something that he actually counters legit, go for Zask, because Jawhead can throw, Zask's ultimate or tower outside of Zask's range and make it disappear. And if that's during Zask's ultimate, that can save a tower for real. He's really strong in the jungle, but using him and knowing when to use him and all that, that's going to require some skills, to throw enemies properly and disrupt the position of enemies in the right way to make it advantageous to your team. That's going to take a little bit of skill with Jawhead. Freya is anti-group. She doesn't drop all the way off the tier list, but she really does need to jungle, and I mean she needs to jungle. The way they've made Freya, and I'm an old Freya main, just FYI, the way they've made Freya now is really tanky early to mid game, and then the damage comes in late game. That's the way she's designed. It doesn't mean you can't build damage early game, it's just that it's not ideal. Of course, you really want to be jungling with her early game, grab some stacks on the beast killer, and then when you use your ultimate, you basically become a tank that can do damage. And your group AoE stun is ridiculously long, so critical hits in that spray will pretty much kill a lot of the assassins or mages that are hiding behind their tanks. But she's a very late game hero, the way they designed her. The old Freya was, of course, way better, stun locking and stuff, but she has her own perks. Take Petrify, you can get a similar result nowadays, but she's definitely not one that you can just pick up and know how to play. She's kind of one of those where you have to be precise in your movements, so a little bit of a learning curve there. Not really bad like Thamus, but she's there. She's up there. Lapu. So Lapu is... Okay, so here's the problem with Lapu. Don't flame me because you see him down in S rank, which is not bad. Seriously, S rank is really good. And you see him S plus over here, and I'm like, oh, he's better than Lancelot? Wait. Leslie, Zilong, Hanzo, Sabre, all better than... Yeah, we'll get to that. So, don't flame me yet. Lapu is really strong. Now, here's as a fighter. Fighter means you can take damage and you can do damage. As a fighter, he's really strong. And he can split push, do different objectives and stuff. He's an overall good player. There's no real strength or weakness to him. He's just a really good choice. He doesn't exactly counter anybody, and you don't pick him to counter anybody or to, anything like that. He's just a filler slot. If you want a good hero overall, you pick Lapu. Sun is more situational. You're going to want to take him when the enemy, again, has really strong tanky lineups. And he will help you out in clearing a lot of the jungle. He's a mid-game hero. Once he gets DHS, he can provide a lot more assists to the team in deterring enemy tanks and stuff like that. He does require some skills to play if you're going to play him really aggressively, so keep that in mind when you're playing him. If you're going to play him really aggressive, really assassin style, you need to keep in mind that he's going to require a lot more skills in order to be able to escape with a lot of success rate. Now, Thamus is not easy to use, and pretty much the only thing that can counter him is carry, mostly because of her slowdown, not because of her sustain and her damage. Heroes with a lot of slowdowns really counter Thamus. That's his weakness. It's not being frozen to death or anything by Aurora. He can do pretty well against that. He can kill Selena, no problem. This dude is a monster, quite literally, but with Purify and everything like that. But the problem is when you have slowdowns. Slowdowns are the bane of Thamus. If you want to counter Thamus, build some slowdown items and he will have a hard time killing you. Otherwise, the reason he's really difficult to use is because you need to be able to use quad control with his chains, his scythes. I know it doesn't sound like much because they get displaced by like 2 inches or something on the map, but the way you aim your scythes and the way they come back to you, and the way that you can use them to kind of interrupt certain hero skills can make the difference between a really good Thamus and a really bad Thamus. And I mained this guy in Season 11, so I literally used him to rank up. I think I had like a 23 win streak with him in solo queue, so he's really strong, really, really good a hero. He can pretty much 1v1, 1v3 anyone early game. He's known to do that. That's his strength. He's kind of like a fighter Grok in a sense. And just keep in mind that late game, heroes that are really strong late game will, kind of pose a really strong problem to him only if they have slowdowns. So be careful when you choose him, and make sure that you have a teammate that can back up your slowdown speed. Someone that can kind of make sure that just because you're slowed down, you're not going to secure some kills. Now we're at the A+, and here's Alpha, Zilong, and Hilda. As fighters, Alpha would be way higher up on this list, except for one thing. And it's not because he's easy to use. You really do need to aim his skills properly in order to get Beta to use his max potential. And he is a tank shredder. He's also like Sun. Pick him when there's a lot of tanks on the enemy team or a lot of, buffed up heroes. Post Bloodlust stacks, he's good. That's mid game for most Alpha users. And the reason he's not higher up on the list, more than anything, is because of the delay in his skill casting. And until Moonton removes that from his kit, that unnecessary delay in skill casting, then he will keep on continue to be in this tier, because you can just delete him in the amount of time it takes for him to cast the skills properly. And I recommend taking a break right now. I've been speaking for 53 minutes, sir. So I'm gonna pause this and give you guys a chance to get a break. Okay, so now we're back. I mean, for me it wasn't really a break. Alucard. Dude, I just called Zilong Alucard. Zilong is surprisingly underrated. As a fighter, he's not as good as an assassin, but as a fighter, he can provide a lot of split push potential, kind of a distraction to the enemy team. He's going to require some skills at, escaping, but every Zilong user is really good at escaping. That's like natural. It comes naturally to them. He can really, always stay out of team fights for the most part. He can, steal jungle, do his thing. More of like a background pressure type hero than anything as a fighter. So just keep an eye out for him on the mini map and you'll be fine. He's probably just as good as Alpha as a choice in terms of the fighters at this rank. And of course Hilda can drop to Balman's level as a fighter. And that's just again because the game doesn't suggest them as assassins, and that's just the way it is. I can't put them in places where they don't belong, or else I'd get flamed for that too. So again, I'm not ignoring these two's potential. They can potentially be really, really strong, but they don't belong in this. They don't belong in this class right here, according to the game. So you know how it is. I already went about why they're good heroes and all that, so we'll just keep that in mind. Same thing for most of these other heroes. I'll just repeat. If I've already said why they're good, then I'll say why specifically the assassin role fits them better than any X role. So yeah, just keep that in mind. We'll go straight into the assassin, speaking of which. So these are the SS class. Fanny. So Fanny, in my opinion, is the hardest hero to use. I cannot play her for the life of me. However, due to the addition of new heroes, she does, she can pretty much kill anyone early game. It's ridiculous how much damage she has. The only one who can do that early game, like her, is Selena, and that's just due to her passive Abyss marks. But Fanny can do it without marks, so it's like, you don't even have to hit anybody, just kill everybody early game. The problem with why she has that brown dash line and she can drop all the way down to A+, is because heroes like Minster Thor, heroes like Kufra, and Kaja exist, and Cho. They can really make a really hard day for a Fanny user. And if you're a Fanny user, even Aurora, or Nana, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So, yeah. I'm pretty sure everybody knows what Fanny can do. Get level 2 and they're buff and they can murder the whole enemy team in other cases, when those counters don't exist. That won't happen in Mythic games. That's why she has that second Mythic badge, because if you can manage to use her in Mythic games and, you know, still work around all those counters, then you really are a really, really fast Fanny. So, kudos to you, my respects to you. You've mastered something I can probably never master. So, let's see. Hayabusa. I think I've already explained earlier in the video why Hayabusa is where he's at. One of the strongest assassins in the game, probably the deadliest one. Simply due to the amount of gold this guy can rack up fast enough and his presence in the map overall. He has a stronger map presence than any of these assassins combined. Except for maybe Hellcurt when he uses his ultimate, but I mean consistently. Hayabusa can always be, you know, pushing towers, clearing lanes, popping and poking into team fights, and then stealing enemy jungle. And early game, he's just get to level 4 and he can just, you know, be that much better. Again, he does counter most mages and any other type of squishy hero in general, but I'm trying not to, I guess, crowd up the whole aesthetics of everything and just leave it at, you know, mages. Particularly non-mobile heroes, he's gonna delete completely, okay? The only issues that he has is heroes that are non-mobile but have a lot of crowd control, like Aurora. Those heroes, yeah, matter of fact, there's Hayabusa getting countered right there by Aurora. Heroes like that will kill Hayabusa. Nana will too, so yeah, Nana packs quite a punch. He's not easy to use, his combos are hard to pull off, and the perfect combo for Hayabusa is insanely difficult to pull off. I've done it rarely. So, you meet a good Haya player, you'll probably want to keep him around as a friend. Otherwise, on to the next guy, which we all know, Gudgeon. Gudgeon is solid pick. A lot of you guys kind of like, oh, well, you suck with Gudgeon. Can't play him right, blah, 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 blah. You know, Gudgeon was my old main. The video you guys saw with that, from Gudgeon with me in that epic ranked game was earlier in the season. I get flamed for a lot of things that I do, but I really don't care, man. If it's just the way I feel, I'm always going to express my opinion, and if there's backlash there, well, guess what? There's going to be backlash. That's not something I really care about in terms of, not that I don't care about the people giving me feedback, it's just I don't care about people giving me negative feedback because I just went against their idols and, you know, they run certain builds on them. And just to clarify a point on Gudgeon, Lightning Truncheon, Clock of Destiny is not bad. It's just, you know what you make him? You don't make him an assassin anymore. What do you make him? You've made him a mage. And look where he ranks in as a mage. You make him on par with everybody else in this group right here. Is that bad? Not all the time. It depends on the enemy team. But these guys are way stronger than a pure mage Gudgeon. Pure mage meaning that he relies on burst, like Lightning Truncheon and Clock of Destiny do. And let me find some clips actually now that I'm here. See if I can find some random Gudgeon one. As you can see, I have a lot of like sent over Discord videos. Oh, here's one. Alright. Oh, this is savage. Okay, so here's...
Shut down!
Let me rewind, actually. There's my build. That's Pillager Axe. Those are my boots. Arcane boots. Again, here's my fleeting time. Here's my concentrated energy. And I'm building Glowing Wand next. And I'm level 11. If you look down at the bottom list, my gold is 5,533. And the enemy team is not that far behind in terms of kills, 10-9. They are underfed compared to me, but that's because I had to take a break from my team and had to, you know, up my gold so I could actually, you know, push and carry the game essentially. But otherwise, these enemies were really good. It was a pretty even game, 10-9 and stuff. So this was
down.
Enemy
double kill.
I'll pause it right here and I'll tell you why I did things the way I do it. And in this case, I did it to prove a point. People are always like, you really want to not miss your daggers and stuff and all that crap. People are like, if you miss your daggers on skill 2 with Gudgeon, you suck. And I recorded this freaking video, and it's so hard to think about doing it, like, in the game. You're like, okay, I have to prove a point that you can miss the daggers and still kill enemies, because the dagger damage decays over time and stuff like that. Of course, it's ideal if you hit him with all your daggers. Who doesn't want that? But sometimes you may not be able to pull that off. But we'll watch.
Lord,
see what I
resurrect.
mean. So here I am in the brush. The enemy team is all in the center over here. And my team has Angela and Minotaur, and they're about to die. I'm literally waiting for them to die because I could not trust them. And if you see here, I tagged somebody, and it was a minion right here. If you look at the positioning of the heroes, Johnson is in car mode, and he's going into, finish a kill. Kimmy is up there shooting at the tower, and you have a back support from a Claude, from an Alice, and from Kaja. And Kaja has his ult available. Or if he didn't, he used it probably really recently. I can't recall. This is way too far ago. But here we go. I completely missed all of the daggers here on Alice. You see, she took no damage on her health. I hit Kimmy with 1. And that's basically it. So watch closely. Here's Minotaur, which is Sayano. And I know I can't trust him with Minotaur, by the way. But he tried to save me. I told him just to back off, but yeah. So here the whole enemy team realizes I'm here. They're going to start to attack me. Kimmy's going to start to punch me. She has horrible aim, by the way. But there's my ultimate right there. And taking a lot of damage right there. And Kaja's ring is some damage I escaped. You see there's no purple damage around me. I escaped in the nick of time. Kaja's ring did not hurt me at all. And Sayano took the lightning truncheon from that Kaja's ring. So then here's my second round of daggers, hitting almost everyone now, and that's where you see all the 300 damages. If you pay attention, it doesn't matter who I hit. Everybody took 300 damage, including Johnson and everybody. So there's my penetration coming into play and stuff like that. Claude, monkeyed in. He's gonna try to kill me. But now, this is where I recall my daggers in order to kill Claude. Here's the dagger recall. My dagger actual skill 1 is on Johnson, by the way. And my daggers are on the way back right now. They're hitting through Kimmy and Alice on the way back already. Sayano just died. And you look really closely, you're going to see that Claude is going to get deleted in one hit. That's because 10 return daggers are going to kill him. And already triggered Johnson's shield with that alone. Everybody else has really low HP now. This is ideal for me since my HP is higher than all of them. Now, there went your Claude. Did you see it? Did you catch it? No? Okay, let me rewind a little bit. So there's your Claude. Let me circle it for you right here, or square it right there. That's your Claude. Then he died. So that's the power of the return daggers. Do not underestimate them for any reason. You may say I'm trash at Gudgeon, but this gameplay was specifically designed to prove a point to a lot of people. And it's an old gameplay, but I kept it around for the same reason. Now, Kimmy and her horrible aim are going to try to kill me, but my HP is almost full. I have nothing to worry about against these 4. This is a setup for a savage, honestly. And since I have fleeting time, not lightning truncheon, I have successfully lowered the cooldown on my ultimate by killing Claude, and concentrated energy gave me that health that I lost back. See the issue here, or you see the where I'm going with this. And now I used my skill 3, as you see here, to build up my passive again, to to hurt somebody with my passive. My skill 1 is still tagged onto Johnson. Remember we said that earlier. But now once I use skill 1, my passive will be reset. And I'm over here in the middle. My whole controls are set to attack the lowest HP first. So I just do a basic attack. And the basic attack is going to hit with the passive. You're going to see that in a couple of seconds. That already hit Johnson, by the way. And Here goes nothing. There's daggers out. And Kaja died. Kaja's health is right here. It's BMT 47k James, whatever. Here's my passive again. It's gonna go again. I'm gonna punch Kaja and he's gonna die from the passive. Boom. There, he died right there. And there goes plus 515. That's the power of fleeting time. And once again, concentrated energy. And then that little hit right there. That's the passive again. When you recall daggers and you do all these things, you know, really, really fast, that's the power of them. Recall daggers will kill Johnson for sure this time. There, he died. Kimmy obviously has some aiming issues. And I took that to my advantage, but because I'm in the brush and, you know, there's a lot of effects going on, maybe she couldn't see properly. But my HP is low here, so I have to use my ultimate, which reset because of fleeting time, to build a good distance. Look at that distance right there. Now, Kimmy is going to waste her dash, which could have saved her, in order to try to chase me. And I tag Alice. No, just kidding. Kimmy took the tag. I was going to try to tag Alice, but anyways, now Kimmy has a tag. I have low HP. And if we rewind a little bit more, just a little bit more, keep in mind what's on the field. Return daggers. One set of daggers is out. Well, actually, sorry about that. I can't even keep up with myself sometimes. Return daggers. Yeah, I had to use them without there because I was going to die if I didn't use them. So there goes my first set of daggers. The only set of daggers I have. And then right here. How did I know I was going to survive this? That is the real question. That's because they wasted their freaking skills already. So, return daggers. Again, the power of return daggers are here. Boom. Plus the passive. The passive is what kills Kimmy. Boom. There's my 500 HP back. That's a maniac. And then all I have to do to kill Alice is punch her from the passive. Although I think I keep on saying passive, passive. I really don't know when the passive hit at this point in time. No, I'm just kidding. I do know when it hit. She just suffered a critical hit right there. There's no physical damage that went off. That physical hit Kimmy. Although, for some reason, when you have a lot of little numbers appearing, the physical passive doesn't, I guess, appear. Well, yeah, that's a savage. And that's how you do it. With specifically my build. Now you see what I mean by chain kills. That's why I make the build the way I do. And that's just my playstyle. It may not sync with a lot of people. They might be more comfortable with Lightning Truncheon and Call of Destiny. But it's not ideal based on Gudgeon's kit. There's my 2 cents on him. Sorry, I had to clear that up. Completely went off track from the tier list, but it's necessary. I'm going to pause the video so just to make sure that I can group this up later. Alright, so now that we're like an hour in, we're at Hellkurt. Alright, so Hellkurt, oh boy, he is a monster in the right hands. Of course, I put mages. You know he counters way more than mages. He can set up team fights like a cancerous monster that he is. And his early game damage is crazy high. He's really difficult to use just due to the fact of how squishy he is. But he can pose a serious threat in really coordinated teams because of the way he's engineered. And he can really stop certain combinations from the enemy team from ever going into fruition. So, overall, solid pick. If you had to pick in between Gudgeon, Hellkurt, and Selena, they'd all be equally cancerous, okay? In the right hands, of course. Then we have Natalia. Why is she dashed? Because of her freaking counters. And no, Sabre is not a true counter to her. And when somebody picks Natalia in the name table, they say, somebody get Sabre! No. It's Kaja. You get Kaja, and you get Rafaela. And then, ta-da! Natalia is countered. If you get Sabre, there's a problem. I did put him right there. You see, there she is. There's Natalia. It's not like he doesn't counter her. He does, but the problem with Sabre countering Natalia completely is that his sabers have a lapse in time. So kind of like playing some strategy games where you have to wait for something to, you know, fall before you jump over it. It's the same thing with Natalia. If you can actually sneak around Sabre's swords and get to your target. So if Sabre's trying to protect somebody with his swords, you can sneak around them if you find the right rhythm with Natalia because of the gap in between them. So just keep that in mind, and Sabre will be less of a problem for you as a Natalia player. Otherwise, she's really easy to predict most of the time. And if the enemy team picks a lot of counters to her, specifically a lot of CC and stuff, it's going to be very difficult for her to, do anything in general. And Kufra, my man Kufra, literally kills her a lot because she can't, use her double dash. That's literally her bread and butter, her escapes. It's her ability to escape and go back into the brush. Kufra can kill that. So, take her with a grain of salt. She is very difficult to use. If I could put her in the freaking support section, she would be SS as well. But solid, because you guys probably haven't heard about it, but support Natalia is the type of Natalia that, you take to as a permanent ward, in the sense if you come from League. She's a permanent lockdown and able to tell where the whole enemy team is at all points in time. So she can be really used. If you have four really strong heroes that, can handle their lanes by themselves, they really don't need a fifth person. And their only weakness is that they can get, ganked in a surprise manner. And Natalia is really good at that as a support. Since if you do hit her with any type of skill like saber swords or damage in general, if she has a shield on, it doesn't turn off her invisibility. So, play with that idea a little bit in your mind. Unfortunately, in this tier list, that cannot be included. But otherwise, everybody knows she's immune to damage from, physical attacks, basic attacks. So all that normal stuff. She kills mostly all marksmen, with the exception of a few that don't rely that hard or that can use Purify or something like that. It depends on the marksman you're trying to attack, honestly. But, so for example, Granger, he's no basic attack guy. He's gonna... Oh, I said it right that time, Granger. How's that, guys? I improved. You guys convinced me to not say Granger. So yeah. Where's that? Okay, yeah, Selena. Granger. Okay, so... I have to say country. That's how it works. Selena. No, okay, I'm gonna stop. Selena is, waifu. No. Selena is extremely difficult to use. That's because of her stun abilities. Not because, oh, you land a lucky stun. No, I mean, like, properly using Selena with all her passive and stuff is why she sits at the top, She can counter pretty much everyone. If you want to counter her, you're going to have to take heroes like Kagura. Heroes that can dance around her, really. Kaja. And other things that prevent divers. So Valir is also a good counter to a Selena. Of course, as long as he doesn't get stunned. So just keep that in mind. Excellent farmer early game. Crazy high damage early game. Crazy high damage even from a long distance as a mage. She is really, really good. There's nothing weak about her. In general, it's just that's how strong she is, and people only have problem with her because they can't spam her ultimate to switch between modes like as a cooldown reset anymore, so they don't pay attention to her as much. But she can prove to be a very worthy adversary. Let me see here. Hanzo, okay, my man, this is a situational pick. If you want to be the maximum disrupt, as in not let the enemy ever get, freaking farmed, that's who you take. Couple him with, like, Grok or Kaja, and just go out on an invasion campaign. Don't let the enemy get anything in terms of the jungle, and that's what you do with Hanzo. He's designed to split push with his ult. He can do so many things with his ultimate, it's not funny. And he's a tank shredder, that... He's integrated Balmond ult with his skill 1 and his, demon form. Of course, he's like, eats up the jungle, so there's no question as to whether he's good at early game, because he can just eat up the jungle and the buffs and everything. So yeah, there's not much to him other than play him right, play him safe, and, prioritize the towers and the enemy jungle and disrupt, their flow, and you've got yourself a really good assassin in your hands. La 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 la. Now, yeah, Lapu Lapu, the guy I was gonna get to. So as an assassin, Lapu's extremely strong, and he is not really gonna be weak in any sort of form or fashion, other than if the hero's super slimy. What do I mean by that? Well, heroes that are, designed to be mobile, super mobile. So like Harley, Cyclops, those types of heroes that can just dance around him. Yeah, that might be a problem when you're an assassin since you kind of, lack health. But otherwise, if he comes in at the right time, CCs properly, he can have this massive shield on him and, prove to be a very worthy adversary. And if not, he can be split pushing really well. So yeah, Lapu Lapu, definitely a really strong pick and choice in general. Sabre, again, if I could put him as a freaking support SS, but Sabre, my dude, is somebody you're gonna take if your team is, reliant on a lot of physical damage, and the enemy team is gonna be building like a lot of blade armors and stuff. Sabre's the guy you want to take. He'll support your team with Heptases and his passive in order to, get rid of all that armor from the enemy team, as well as provide a really good peel and a really good burst damage as well. So just keep him in mind. He's not like one of those assassins that's good early game, because he's more of a support slash assassin than anything, in my opinion at least. Zilong as an assassin. So this means basically predicting where your enemy is going to be at, bursting them down, killing them, and then using your ultimate to run away. That's the way of the assassin Zilong. It's hilarious to play it. And you can sneak some towers in, of course, at all times with Zilong. That's just the nature of how he is. So yeah, just get used to playing him. Play him like Natalia, basically, is what I'm saying, and you'll be really good with Zilong. And playing him, speaking of playing him like Natalia, play Leslie like Natalia, and you'll have a way, way stronger hero. Leslie as a marksman alone, same class. Look at that. But you're missing out on an assassin Leslie because she can do so much more. She obviously, in the assassin category, is nothing, she can't compare up here. But in terms of the pure marksman stuff, basically what I'm saying is Assassin Leslie is probably a better choice than Marksman Leslie. But we'll get to that later. But yeah, Marksman Leslie, not going to be better. I think I actually sent a video of this. So let me find one from me. Has video. Montage. Okay, never mind then. It's InShot is what it's called. What? What do you mean there's nothing? Oh, I didn't put a space. Sorry, guys. Okay, never mind. From 0. Hate scrolling through a bunch of stuff. Mostly you're going to be seeing my waifus. I knew I had her somewhere. Come on, guys. Public lounge. I know I posted her here too. From 0. No, not yes. 0. Pokecord sucks. Alright, let me find it, guys. I'll be right back. Alright, so I found it, guys. Here it is. So this is like playing Leslie as like you would play Natalia. So here I'm going from brush to brush, making sure my skill 1 is being used. And if you look closely, Johnson's really good. He's driving through the jungle. He's gonna hit that Gudgeon and kill him. And I'm going to wait, like a patient Natalia would.
Enemy has been slain.
And wait. Oh, there's my target right there. So, 1 shot, 2 shot, 3 shot, 4 shot.
You have
boom.
slain an enemy. An ally has been slain. Double kill.
So yeah, that's the way you play.
An enemy has been slain.
No, I don't die, but I don't kill Ruby. Yeah, nobody does. She escapes. So yeah, there's that. Just as an FYI, I guess. Who do you have next? Lancelot and Karina. Okay, so Karina, Does not require a lot of skills to be played. You know, just make sure you don't use your skill 1 around marksman or when you dive in. So like, if you're gonna attack somebody, you know, use your ultimate, then skill 2, and then punch them. That's how you do it, and then use skill 1 to escape. That's how you properly use her to run away, unless the enemy's like 1 shot away. Then yeah, of course you can do it. If that enemy was the marksman, you know, use her skills wisely. She can protect you, and she can, you know, resist against basic attacks if you use her properly. Holy crap, this is a long video. Alright. Lancelot. Why is he lower than these guys? Well, keep in mind, he's S tier. It's not like he's, you know, a crappy hero. Lancelot is here due to the fact that he just got nerfed really hard. If you're gonna use him really wisely, you know, against heroes that have a lot of like lockdown burst type ults like Cyclops or Harley, you know, they take a while to get to you and you can avoid their damage and stuff. That's great. You know, keep on using him like that. He's still strong overall as a hero, but when you compare him to heroes like this, yeah, there's a reason why he's down there. Otherwise, you know, the spell vamp nerf really hurt him. That's really what brought him down. Kind of like what brought Sabre down. Really hardcore. Sabre, when not used properly or stuff like that, when they build Bloodlust on him, hey man, you can't do that anymore. It's just an old build. It doesn't work. Everybody who plays Sabre in a legit way knows that if you don't get Blade of Despair first, you're basically screwed. Or Hunter Strike, at least, if you want mobility, you know, something like that. But that's the point. That Lancelot's pretty much the same way, but he can't, you know, do as much. The only reason he has that green tag is because he needs to farm early game. Otherwise, he's a mid-game hero, in his particular case. Alucard, as an assassin, is going to be super prone to burst and anything like that. So, literally, a combination of 2 heroes is going to kill you every time because you just don't have enough of that HP to fall back on like a normal Alucard would as a fighter. So, just keep that in mind. And if you don't, and you still pick him against a lot of counters, you're going to fall down to A tier with Alucard. Alright, now mages, the biggest section. Well, at least we're halfway there, right? This is probably the section I have the most experience with, actually. So, Aurora, the queen, and the queen of anti-divers. Where's my counter thingy? Okay, no, I'm just kidding. She counters heroes like Hayabusa, like Gudgeon, and like Harley. Heroes like that. Okay? It's not like, those are the only 3 heroes she counters. No. And she's really, you know, the fact that she can freeze groups of enemies doesn't mean she kind of sucks in team fights. She can really do a lot in team fights too. Overall, the only reason she's situational is because of the cooldown between, you know, her freezes and stuff. That's obviously to keep her in check. But you don't want to pick her against heroes like Thamus or heroes like Badang and stuff like that, because they will kill you hardcore, even harder than, you know, most of these other heroes. Same thing applies to Odette, and almost applies to Jiangha. Not exactly, but we'll see. You'll see what I mean. Otherwise, Aurora is a mid-game hero, gets Lightning Truncheon, and begins to be really strong. Yes, I'm not adverse to Lightning Truncheon on mages. It can be a legitimate item on some of them. Nana is another one that Lightning Truncheon based. Anyone who's a diver is going to have a really hard time. It's in a different way from Aurora. Aurora is kind of like, you know, instant freeze. Nana is more of like a physical, or I mean not physical, a psychological game. Like, oh yeah, I know you don't want to go through Molina now. But aiming her skills and all that, she can prove to be a very annoying hero on the battlefield. And even as a mage, her damage alone puts her on par with heroes like Cyclops, Harley, Gord, etc. Same thing with Odette. Odette's damage is actually pretty much higher than all of these guys. And the way you play Odette, as weird as it sounds, is with somebody who can take advantage of her. So the normal thing that people expect is like Odette plus Johnson. But I'm over here trying to tell you that it's really Odette plus Veil that matter. Or Valir. The way that works is that they both, treat groups in different ways. If you have an Odette using her ult, and there's like anybody with any type of CC basically that can displace her, they cancel her ult if they touch her. And that's where you have to take either Valir, to knock them up or push them away, or Veil to, use her kind of as bait and, kill the enemies that try to dive in for her. And that's how you would, sync with her. Otherwise, alone and with, excluding those heroes, if you can save your ultimate for the right time and all that, you can prove to be really strong. And her ultimate is not necessarily her strongest point. Everybody, kind of is like, oh, no ult Odette equals no damage. That depends on your build, alright? And I'll just leave it at that. I'm not going to get into more dilemmas over builds. But let's just say that her splash damage is no joke. And that's actually something that can kill a lot of enemy heroes more than her ultimate. So even before using your ultimate, you want to make sure you hit somebody with a 3 times charged passive. So charge your passive up to 3, punch somebody, then use your ult, and that's how you kill enemies with Odette, even if they cancel your ult. That's the key to Odette. Alright? Jiangha, with her freaking buff, is a cancerous piece of crap that's a destroyer of fighters. Situational only in the sense that you want to play her a little differently from what you may be used to. She's one of an invader type of mage. Okay, so use your ultimate to steal buffs and stuff like that. And her zoning, she's like, if I had to compare her to something, she's like the magical Hellcurt, okay? That's how much of an impact she has on the game now. And even though Hellcurt is kind of like you can fit him into most teams, Jiangha, if you don't have a good peeler in extreme cases, you're not going to be really good there. That's why that's situational. Make sure you can, when you pick her, that the enemy team is not, oh, holy crap, I just noticed a piece of Valir's thing. Whoops, sorry guys, this really totally belongs, up here. Sorry about that if you caught that. Anyway, sorry for getting back, sidetracked. But yeah, Jiangha, really good at zoning. In terms of long distance zoning and deterring a lot of tanky enemy heroes from defending, that's pretty much on par with somebody like Claude as well. So keep that in mind. Her shield is really cancerous as well. She has become really a force to be reckoned with. If you see an enemy Jiangha on the enemy team, do not for any moment, at any point in time, take her lightly. She has not become somebody that's, over here with, Lunox and stuff. Oh, why is Lunox all the way down? No. We'll get there. We'll get there. You'll see why in a second. Alright, Esmeralda. I don't think I need to say why she's an SS mage. Her shield is like the size of her HP bar. She can get infinite shield. She can do all this crap that isn't supposed to be legal for a mage / tank. And the fact that she doesn't need much, expertise or knowledge other than aiming her ult and farming, then that's why she's so high up there. Of course, she's going to suffer versus heroes like, Aurora, Acai, Bane, etc., etc. But you know the drill. You know what I'm trying to get to. Overall, she's probably the only SS mage you can pick instantly and have no regrets about picking. Let's see here. I'll do Farce last. I have a special thing to say about her. Valir. Valir is the guy who is not good in lower ranks because they don't know how to play with you. Higher ranks, oh man, he is a monster. If you can properly use him, I mean, even from the get-go, Valir level 1 wave clearing is insane. And you give him the buff, you help him farm, he cannot farm. If you help him farm the buff, in team fights he can deter things like Minotaur. That's crazy hard to stop, okay? He can stop so many heroes in team fights, and he can reposition so many enemies in such uncomfortable ways that it's really, 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 really good to pick him. In fact, you know who he counters legit? Legit, besides Minotaur? Kaja. Kaja cannot dive and get one of your allies as long as Valir is there, because he just cannot dive. If he does, he's gonna lose half of his HP and probably die from the ultimate of Valir. So take him for heroes that really like to dive you, not quick divers like Harley or stuff, like safe divers, but heroes that actually go in melee range to dive you. That's when you pick Valir. Veil is more like anti-group in general, different than Valir. Valir is like prevent skills from being used from the enemy team. Veil is more of a kill everything that's grouped up hero. And you can say and you can argue that maybe in higher ranks people aren't going to stay in your ultimate to take all the damage from it. And this is where you may be right in that sense, but it does not mean that his stop on hit tornado will still not do 50% of the enemy's HP, regardless of if they stay in his ult or not. If they stay in his ult, that's pretty much a KO, okay? I don't think I have the clip from him anymore. I wish I did. Maybe I do. Give me 1 second. I'll try to find it for you guys. Alright, I found it.
You have slain.
This is all. So here you go. This is what I mean. And by the way, my build is not lightning truncheon or anything. My build on Veil is glowing wand, holy crystal, and some other items I don't recall off the top of my head. But here you go. There's my tornado. Stop on hit tornado. There. Look how much damage it's doing. That's before the ultimate even pops. Okay, you see what I mean now? Boom. That's
enemy kill.
Veil. Really helps against heroes that are trying to run away and stay at a distance. I mean, look how far away these heroes are, way up here. And look at Veil and his power. Like, that pop right there, Gwyn jumped in at the right time to get popped, basically.
Slain an enemy kill. Mega kill.
I mean, if you want to look at more of this, I mean, just simply look at the freaking live streams I've done, or even more proof that he's really strong. Of course, people are going to flame me for this. Oh, you're using this example and it doesn't really count because it's like Grandmaster and stuff. But the fact that I got so many, an immobile mage that people say sucks with an immobile mage and my build not changing much. I mean, look at this. I'm pretty standard with my build. Like literally almost every game. See? But I had like a really good win streak until I lost it. It was like, I think it got up to 31 or something. Yeah. So, you get the idea. You know where I'm coming from now. I really suggest you be afraid of Veil if you fight him in, in general in games where, the Veil user is skilled. Now, Farce is the one I really wanted to get to for this, like, last of the SS section. If you want to become really good with any hero in general, who you're going to want to play and master is Farsa. Why do I say that? Because she's a super zoner. What do I mean by that? Okay, so her ultimate. And I was talking with the top global Farsa earlier this morning. Come on. Where you at, Peach? Here you are. And we were explaining some things about Farsa. We were talking about her. And this is what we mean by super zoning. Like, look at the tower. There's nowhere you can hide in that tower where Farsa cannot get you. Same thing here. And here. And here. Etc., etc. It's a tower trap. And the reason why you have to be a really good Farsa player and then you can be really good with almost any other hero, with the exception of probably Fanny or some, it's not all inclusive. I'm not trying to say every freaking hero, but she'll give you a really good start with every other hero. Why? Because everybody tries to go after her, literally. No, it's a Farsa, it's eating food for me. No, she's not. Farsa will train a lot of things from you, and we discussed it. And if you want to know what it is, let me quote it legit from me. Where are they at? Come on, buddy. prediction. Betoski talks about this in a different way. And if you guys don't know who Betoski is, I'm pretty sure you do. He talks a lot about prediction and stuff like that. Knowing how enemies are going to, behave. This is literally Farce in a nutshell. So, positioning, prediction, and aiming are the 3 keys to Farce. And Peach agreed with me. Okay? So, in order to play Farce successfully, you have to know how almost every hero in the game, you have to know how every hero in the game behaves, where they normally come from, their habits, and their positioning, your positioning, and then on top of that, using the mini-map and the actual screen to aim your ultimate, and then still escaping or preventing heroes from killing you. A good Farce player will not die to a Sabre user. That much is guaranteed. As long as it's not a surprise gank, okay? In that case, that's because Farce let her guard down. But you get the point. Farce is by far the most deserving. She almost requires another mythic badge up here. Just because of how many heroes you have to know how to play, and in order to be successful with her. Farce plus somebody like Kufra is like a destroyer combo. Can literally kill like 80% of the heroes on this whole list. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents on Farce. Let me drink some water real quick. I've been talking for a long time. Alright, so these mages, which most people are going to be arguing with me, like, you should have flipped the mages, S plus and SS categories, because these guys are clearly better mages. No. As pure mages, Harley for sure is one of the qualifiers to possibly go up here into the SS rank, but he's not more of a pure mage. If I could freaking move heroes where I wanted them, like where I believe they should belong, Harley would be over here with the assassins, and then he would still be SS up there. That's my opinion. But since I'm restricted to putting him in a mage category, he's going to stay S+. Same with Cyclops and Herath. Okay? And that's why you see some heroes reflected just like that. Gudgeon, Selena, that's why they're, SS assassins, because they're mages slash assassins. If they were restricted to only mages, here they would be, and here they are. So that's the same logic for a lot of these, okay? Just keep that in mind. Alright, so Cyclops is probably one of the few counters to Farce, in a different sense though. That's being able to outrun Farce's ultimate. If you can successfully do this, play around Farce's ultimate, because it does take time to, it does take time to fall down. It's a mark that appears, then boom, Farce's ultimate hits. Skill 2 from Cyclops, giving you that movement speed boost can help you so much in that case. Same thing with Harley, he can play around a little bit, but not as much as Cyclops, because Cyclops does not have to aim his skills, okay? Having to aim your skills means you have to stay in a straight line with Harley. Farce can take advantage of that and, delete you. Otherwise, let's get back into the real thing. What does he counter? Well, he also counters slow fighters, so fighters that can't really make up for that distance. Everybody's like, okay, Lapu has a blink, though, and maybe he has flicker and something else. That's not the point. The point is that Cyclops can, so easily reposition himself to a point where he's that strong that he can counter them. I guess you can take it with a grain of salt, the warrior sign on him. Difficulty to use him is not that hard. I mean, you're literally just spamming skills. Positioning is what's really hard for him, I guess, if you want to call something difficult. If you can master, good positioning with a Cyclops, then you'll be really, really good with him. A great example, again, is Betoski. So, he can play Cyclops he's a pro at Cyclops. And it's not because, Cyclops is hard to use, but you use some of that prediction ability, some of that, knowledge of your range and the range of your skills and the range of the enemy skills, their timings and stuff. You use that to your advantage, and Cyclops or any other hero in general. He just chose Cyclops, but that's just a kind of an example of why Cyclops is so good. His sustain is high and his damage is high as well, so that's up there. He was nerfed. He was nerfed. That's why he's no longer SS. Harley, again, already said where he really belongs, but as a mage, of course, tons of damage. The ultimate can prove to actually kill tanks really easy if you use it in in synergy with heroes that are tank shredders, like for example Claude or Carry or Sun or etc. etc. If you target heroes like that, it'll be great. He has insane rotation ability, crazy high early game potential, and he jungles really fast. He just gets fed really fast. Overall, in general, Harley really has no downsides. And the only problem I have with people playing Harley is that they build the concentrated energy on him. It's not a bad item. It's just not worth it on him. And, you're like, oh, well, if I can sustain for longer, I can, kill people more and all that. Here's something coming, from me to you, okay? Harley, if you get caught with Harley, even if you have 300% spell vamp, it's not going to save you. He's so squishy that if you get caught, you pretty much die. So having spell vamp is not really going to be all that great on him. Herath, as long as he's not fighting Esmeralda or Minster Thor, he can pretty much pwn almost everybody as well. He's still sometimes banned and stuff like that, but he got that nerf on his ultimate and stuff. Situational only because if the enemies, know how to counter you now, and they don't allow you to blink, Minster Thor, again, Kufra, or crowd control, Franco, Acai, stuff like that is really going to hurt you really hard. The counters are coming out. It's not like before where, he was pretty much running rampant. Gord, overall, is a great pick in this category. If you want to play him, well, there's a lot of prediction involved, a lot of, timing as well, aim your ultimate properly and all that. Damage is there, and he can surely, prove to be worthy against heavy, tanky teams. Aurora, she's a burst type hero. You take her when the enemy has really strong assassins because you can stop them with your stun and then, ultimate them and like two-shot them basically. Otherwise, you don't really want to take her if the enemy has really good divers that, can take that damage, because then you're going to suffer hardcore. Zask is strictly, how do I say it? Either counter or strictly objective. I would say both, objectives and counters. So if you're fighting Hayabusa, he's probably really good because he can alternate the Hayabusa damage between him and his spawn. And then he can stun them right after. Harley and Johnson, well, Johnson because you can place your spawn in the way of where Johnson would normally come from. And then you can, avoid the whole crash from Johnson. Protect yourself in a sense. Harley, because if you stand close to your, your spawn, Harley's ultimate will be absorbed by your spawn if you have the correct positioning for this. Otherwise, he's really strong at killing towers. Everybody knows this. But finding a good Zask is really hard because he's not easy to use at all without feeding, okay? Another anti-diver would be Vasana because of her skill 1. And if in group and team fights with there's minions around and people know her from Brawl, she can really pack a really hard punch there. So, her real, I guess, main perk is that she can actually gain yourself your ally like a 6th player in a sense for a little bit. And, prove to be a really strong mage overall. The problem of, using her is when people have really fed marksmen because they can just, kill her really fast. So be careful when you play her correctly, and make sure you have a good peeler with you. Otherwise, she will drop significantly. But in coordinated teams, she's really strong, okay? Same with Kadita. Honestly, everything I just said for Vasana, you can say for Kadita. The only difference is Kadita has a little bit more of a, reliability due to her passive and due to her knock-up. She can provide a little bit more team support in a different sense. She's also not easy to use, and I guess more of a ganker. She's more of like anti-gank, Vasana is, and Karita's more of like a ganker. We already went over why Selena and Gudgeon are strong. If you're building Mage Gudgeon, which pretty much means Clock of Destiny and Lightning Truncheon, you probably already know what I'm talking about. Then you already know why he's strong there. I mean, you run him like that. Kagura, my old main as well. Oh, okay, so they nerfed her too hard for early game. Her skills and her combos are not easy to pull off, and she's pretty much a counter to everything because of her Purify integrated and stuff. Her damage is up there. She's really strong, still really strong of a hero. It's just that she's been pushed to mid game, and that's why people don't really appreciate that, I guess. I have a clip of her actually. I know I can have it somewhere around here. It's not that old actually. I think I have it written as CAG too. There she is.
There are two kinds of people in the world. There are two kinds of
Kagura users.
people.
And sorry for the bad quality. It's just like something I can send over Discord. So here's my umbrella up here. You know, you see it right here. If you look at the enemies, Gatot is right here. Jiangha is right there. There's 4 enemies alive. Selena's right there. And I think that's a Leslie. So there we go. If you look closely at Gatot, his ult is about to hit me. However, I'm not focused on him. I don't care about him. I'm focused on killing the 2 guys in the back. So basically, yeah, I exist down here, but I'm really my umbrella. That's me over there. Okay, use my ultimate. Get some kills. And escape. I mean, of course, I was, you know, noticing in the background the peripheral vision, I guess, of Gatot's ultimate. But, you know, you can TP to your umbrella super fast. The point is to do it properly. And then, you know, warn Selena not to try to save Gatot because she was going to die if she, you know, etc., etc. So that's basically why Kagura is still super strong. She can pull off those plays still to this day. It just takes a lot of time, I guess, in a sense. That was, how long?
There are 2 kinds of people in the world.
5.
An enemy has been slain. Killing spree.
Keep that in mind. That's why she has that yellow tag. That's mid game, not early game. And let me drink some water again. Sorry, guys. Okay, so here's what happened. I literally was talking to myself for a really long time. I have to go back through all this. So, here's what happened. I got to Kagura, and I talked through everything through, and then I forgot, or didn't realize I didn't click record, so. Here I go with Gwyn, Faramis, and Lunox. It's like I'm repeating myself now, sorry. So, Guinevere as a pure mage is not going to work as well because you're kind of ignoring the fact that she's a fighter, etc., etc. She keeps all the other stats and stuff, but you're essentially nerfing her. Lunox is by no means trash, but there's too many counters to her now that can be abused to keep her down here and make all these heroes excel in one way or another above her. Faramis, probably equally as strong as a mage and as a support. More like anti-burst, but also a really strong, you know, damage dealer overall. He's pretty fast, so that's why he's here. Kimmy as a pure mage, you're ignoring the fact that she's a marksman too. So, as a pure mage, unless she's up against really, really strong crowd control, you would have no reason to build her as a pure mage. But if you're doing only like objectives only, and you're not up for kills and stuff, Mage Kimmy does indeed do more damage to towers than physical Kimmy. You can verify this yourself. Grab Blood Wings and shoot a tower, and then sell it by Blade of Despair and shoot a tower. You'll see the difference. Blood Wings does more damage. Alice fell off. She's still a really good pick, but she fell off mostly because, again, these heroes up here can just outshine her. in the sense that they have more control over the enemy team or the team in general and what can happen. But if you're, trying to fight groups and you want to stick to mages and you want to, be in the middle of everything, yeah, go ahead and get Alice. She's a mid-game hero though. I'm not going to mention why Karina should not be played as a mage, because she's literally melee, and mages are all about not being melee, so yeah, there's that. I'm repeating myself. Okay, so Claude, everybody here, including Bruno down here, requires skills to play, okay? Do not build Claude with critical. It's stupid. If you want to do that, you might as well, build Clint. I'm going to start with Clint, actually, because Clint deserves it. Clint has a special thing. I want you to watch this, okay? Mute this. And if you watch here, 1868 damage, 111 from Thunderbelt, and 657 from Endless Battle, okay? I do have Blade of Despair on him, but that will proc later. I'll show you that later. Alright, now 1868 again. That means that Blade of Despair did not trigger here, okay? We're on the same page. However, 806 and 282. We just crit on true damage, basically. We increased our true damage by 300. You may not think that's a lot, but that's a lot. And we have proved that true damage can crit. And I may not have, that little sign right there, but it indeed did crit. And now, Blade of Despair passive, showing you Blade of Despair. 2378, completely different damage, okay? And Endless Battle, of course, a little bit more damage because Endless Battle is based on total physical attack, and that's boosted slightly by, Blade of Despair. So there's that. That's why Clint is all the way up here. And late game, why he can literally two-shot people. So, yeah. The only reason that you would not want to take Clint, I guess, over anybody else is if there's a situation where the game is just not going to be geared towards late game, honestly. Otherwise, let's go to Claude. Claude is a hero that you do not want to pick if there's a lot of knockups, because that will, tremendously impact your game performance. But if you're gonna pick Claude and the enemy is as soon as you get DHS basically, and then you can basically kill almost any tank. Yeah, mastery over Claude and his monkey and teleporting and using his ult properly is gonna take some time to master, but it's completely possible. Nothing impossible there. Kimmy as a pure marksman, that's why she's brown and stuff. As a pure ADC marksman, suffers from close range, so if you can't get in close range to a lot of heroes, then you're going to suffer a lot. But otherwise, marksman Kimmy is going to be really strong at killing in general, and towers, heroes, enemies, jungle, invading, everything. Kimmy's really strong at that. But I recommend you build a healthy hybrid, of items on her. Let's see, Carrie, literally Cancer number 2 or number 3 by now. She somehow Moontown thought it was okay to make a marksman that does true damage based on the enemy's HP, make her super tanky, and then also decided that giving her insane sustain would also be good. So yeah, no, yeah, there's a reason why Carrie's Cancer up there. Moskov is more of anti-diving heroes. Fannies and other heroes like that kind of, are reluctant, a little hesitant to dive into a Moskov because if they get pinned, they die. Playing with this guy requires a lot of positioning, a lot of skill to stun a hero properly, but once you get it down pat, he can be very rewarding, just like Clint. Granger is not as qualified as these guys in terms of marksman. There's a reason I don't like him. And that's because of the fact that he can't defend the base properly. So I guess another example of this is if we compare the ability to defend a Lord Wave and, the inhibitor towers, as a marksman, everybody here would, pass with flying marks, okay? But Granger would not. Or Granger would not. And he would suffer because he'd suffer the same problem as Harley. He's a skill caster. So defending towers, pushing towers is not something this guy is going to be good at. That's why I don't like him as much. And that's where he's going to be more crippling to the team than anything. So yeah, take him with a grain of salt. Otherwise, his aiming requires a lot of skill. And his ult can do a lot of damage. He definitely is really strong. It's just that there's his downside right there in defending and pushing. Bruno, if we had to classify these four right here, Bruno would be a marksman slash support. Leslie would be marksman slash assassin. And Layla and Mia would both be just marksmen, okay? And let's get to Bruno. Bruno's difficult to use because if used properly, he can stun lock pretty much permanently. That requires a lot of skill. And he doesn't really need a lot of crit items on him. And his passive, from his ultimate, basically allows him to not really need Malefic Roar and stuff like that. So he can really stack up on, burst damage. But if anything, people that have small amounts of armor, or good amounts of armor to deal with like Leslie or other marksmen would be fighters. And Bruno does exactly that. He kind of kills that armor. So he treats fighters like if they were squishies in a sense. So Bruno, if anything, really, really, really hurts squishies, and he can really hurt fighters as well. Leslie should be played more of as an assassin than anything. And I'll show you why. Why can't I not search stuff? Has video. There. Where's my Leslie? There she is. Okay, so what?
弟のために夕飯を用意しないと。
If I can I pause it?
An enemy has been slain.
That's how I can pause it.
You have slain an enemy.
There, how about that? Alright, so here's why I said you should play Leslie as an assassin. And come on. Come on, Leslie. And that's why she's up here. She's still really good as a marksman. And I'm not sure if I already did this. Like I said, I recorded and then I don't know if it stopped recording. But anyways, see, I'm playing her like Natalia, blah, 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 blah. I kill carry right here. Wait for the team to work out. And Gudgeon died by Johnson, Carrie died by me, and then so did Harley. That's it. After this, I'm done. I really don't care for anybody else. I don't die, but it's just, that's it. That was mission accomplished. Assassin Leslie. If you play her as a legitimate marksman, she's going to be really good in general because she can still run away and travel. She can still deter enemies that die of her, and she can, still use her ultimate to, kill people that are trying to run away. Now you have Mia next, and Mia is more of like used if you don't trust your allies to protect you against heroes like Cho or other, hardcore lockdown heroes. So she can turn the tables on like Sabre, for example, and kill him because of their Purify integrated into her ultimate. That's why she's good, and that's not the only thing good about her. The fact of the matter is that she's very versatile. As in, if the enemy takes a really tanky lineup, she can do DHS / Golden Staff just like Claude. But she can also do something, against normal enemies. She can build the normal crit and lifesteal. And that, both ways are good. Just different situations. And that versatility really helps her, to be a really good hero. Layla can indeed, in certain cases, be better than Hanabi, Sunshin, or Rithel, or Roger. But it's a very, very special case. And that means that you've reached late game. Late game, she's stronger than these guys, except maybe a Rithel. And in a different way than a Rithel. It's just because of her range. Her range is so big that heroes like Gudgeon cannot throw their dagger at Layla without dying. Because two to three shots will kill them. And the dagger range for Gudgeon's dagger tag is smaller than Layla's, basic attack range. So there's that. And also heroes like Fanny will suffer hardcore from, like a Layla, especially if they're super fast, high-speed Fannies. Layla's passive, increases with distance. So if you're going to be being one of those, like, poke in, poke out heroes like Harley or Fanny, Layla's damage is going to truly, really hurt you. So keep that in mind. Yes, she can drop 3 ranks, 1, 2, 3, lower than Roger, so keep that in mind. So, not all the time, you really do need a good peeler with her, so situational right there. As for these 3, Yisanshin and Hanabi both have this group tag, but they're different. Hanabi does more group damage, more group crowd control than Yisanshin. She has that immunity to crowd control when her passive is up. And of course, that's basically her gig. She's really good against group types because that's her most source of damage. Yisanshin is a little different. He can be played sort of as a support, but also as a global kind of ward, or as a global buff stealer, or as a global buff or kill finisher. So he has his dashes, unlike Hanabi, and because of that, he can be a little bit more mobile. And he can provide a little bit more support to the team. His glaive kind of got nerfed, so I'm not going to mention it that much. But he is a mid-game hero, and he definitely can farm a lot. As for Erithal, she's kind of in the same category or class as I would say Clint and probably Leslie, where they do burst damage. But the difference is that while Clint, can do pierce through enemies with his skills, kind of like in a similar way that Moskov can, his AoE is different from Erithal's, because Erithal's is kind of like a group AoE explosion, higher than Clint's by far, but Clint has true damage, so it's kind of like give or take. But Erithal really does need support, whereas Clint, because of his dash, can handle things a little bit easier on his own. Erithal, you really need to babysit, basically. Roger, as a marksman, pure marksman, you're losing out on your passive as a fighter, which basically takes away the tank killing ability. So do not play pure marksman Roger. It's not recommended. It's going to probably cost you a lot of games if you do that. And we get to the supports. Finally. So supports are a little special. They're all different. Angela does not specifically counter anyone, or neither is she specifically countered by anyone. She's more of an augment type hero. She's an enhanced type hero. So you stick her on literally cancer heroes like Grok, like Carrie, like Leomord, like Cho, like Guinevere, you name it. Heroes are already literally cancer, and she just makes them extra cancer. Because why not? Basically, you kind of want to pair her up with heroes that usually normally lack CC, slowdowns, or roots, and that's where she will come into play, as well as increasing damage on the the target and all that, yada yada yada. And she can come in with some really good saves, or prepare enemies or your teammates from for diving. So yeah, that's where she's at. Her map awareness is something that's key. That's why she has that legend symbol. You really do need to have a really keen sense of map awareness to be a really good Angela. Otherwise, we have Estes, who does belong here, indeed. He's more situational, though. If you see an Estes being picked, you're going to most likely see him be picked with Zask, Sun, Bela Rick, heroes like that can augment him significantly, because Estes can steal magic power and magic attack. They kind of made it so that if you get anti-life regen items during his ultimate, he kind of counters that. Plus, stealing magic power from a lot of mages can, seriously overcome that. So it may not, boost it to crazy levels, but it can at least make it consistent. His heal is consistent. He does not need a lot of skill to be played, other than spamming skills and all that. The fact that both his physical and magical attack get raised when in his ultimate mode and he's healing a lot of people can really raise a lot of concern for enemies that are prone to true damage. So you can get Endless Battle and Calamity Reaper on this guy, in like late game, he's going to be basically two-shotting people with true damage, and that's completely feasible with Estes and the new Estes. Diggy wise, let's see here. The only thing I would say about Diggy, in terms of not having that green clock there, because of course he's strong early game, is that he really needs his ultimate, and I dare say he does need a little bit more of at least an item or two before he can become truly Cancer, or at least Lightning Truncheon for Diggy, and then therefore that pushes him to mid game usually most of the time. But knowing when to use your ultimate and all that, and successfully defending your allies, can come at a cost, at a slightly higher learning curve than normal. Sorry, drinking water. Next up is Rafaela, and she's the only one with red crosses on her, because she provides proves to be a true 100% counter to Natalia and to Minster Thor, because Natalia will always be exposed by her, and the range is huge, so there's no way you can get close to Rafaela when she's picked against Natalia. Way better than Sabre as a choice. And then Minster Thor, you can literally help anyone escape Minster Thor's ult, because all they need to do is run out, and they can root you. If they have sprint or something like that, they can use that. But generally, if you heal them, they'll be able to escape Minster Thor's ult, and therefore nullify his ult effect most of the time. As far as for how the heck she counters Johnson, it's a little different than what you may be expecting. The scenario here is, if Johnson's coming in, your team's grouped up, you can set up a really mean gank with her, where glob her up, act like you're noobs and you don't know where Johnson's going to be coming from, and then use your skill, your healing skill on your whole team, and get everyone except the tank to move. Johnson will crash into the tank as you wanted it to be. Then you can stun whoever was riding with Johnson, and then your whole team can come in from like a counter gank, basically. But that's only possible because of that speed boost that can happen, that can allow your teammates to disperse really quick or group up really quick. So yeah, keep that in mind. Kaja, even as a pure support, still has his CC and still has the ability to be tanky. So that's not going to go away from him, and that's definitely why he's going to stay in the SS rank as a support even. Lolita, Minotaur are both tanks really, but if you play them as pure supports, you're going to want to take Lolita for projectile to counter projectile damage more than anything, and if you're going to take Minotaur, you're going to take him more than anything to peel off enemies, to heal and peel. So make sure you keep Minotaur safe, anti-group, so keep him surrounding your squishies, so if someone comes in to dive him, he can protect them and then heal them. That's where the support would come in instead of the tanking. Nana as a pure support is a little different. I mean, she still has Molina and her ultimate, and that can deter a lot of divers, but it's more psychological games, because you're like, okay, I dare you to come in here with Molina active kind of thing. She's way better as a mage, and she can still complete the same function. And then for Ramus, of course, as a support, there's no question about him being really good. Not as good as these guys up here. He's kind of like in between a mage and a support right now, but he's really fast, so I guess that really helps him out. Definitely anti-burst, and if your team can recover from that, yeah, they'll reap the rewards. I do want to say a special thanks to specifically you, if you came this far in the video, to all of my subscribers, and to all of my friends who helped make this list. That's from me, straight from me, and thanks a lot. I went back and checked this to make sure that I answered a lot of these questions, and I did, so that's good. So yeah, I hope this video will be posted pretty soon, and when it is, it's gonna be probably one of the longer ones. I'm not gonna edit it at all, so you're gonna hear a lot of ums and stuff. Well, now you're at the end, you probably heard a lot of this, and yeah. The next thing on the list was Granger, but then Oh, but then they canceled him, so now Granger is, you know, unusable in a sense, and that's mostly due to the fact of the bug with the emblem, the jungle emblem and stuff on him. Nothing to worry about. They'll bring him back eventually, but yeah. Otherwise, that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope that explains the tier list. If you have any more questions or opinions or stuff, you know, let me know in the comments. I'll try to read them. And with this, I can actually post this to Reddit since it's an actual lengthy discussion. And my throat is dying, so peace out. 0 out.